which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, roll call and conflicts of interest, please.
Councilmember Abraham,
Hearing none.
Councilmember Bixel,
Hearing none.
Vice Mayor Franco,
Hearing none.
Councilmember Moniz,
Hearing none.
Mayor Bublak.
Hearing none. Thank you. Approval of agenda is posted or amended.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abraham,
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco,
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz,
Yes.
Mayor Bublak.
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you. And then we have the Turlock Police Department Animal Services. There's a dog to be adopted as we speak.
Good evening. I'm Supervisor Walthrop with Turlock Animal Services, and here with me tonight is Stuart. He is a 4-year-old Chihuahua Terrier mix. He's been with us for a little bit. He does appear to be housebroke. He's great with kids. I know this because I sacrificed my 2-year-old to see how he did. He is free to seniors and veterans, and a reduced price to others of $55. And he is just an all-around great dog. Loads well in the car, loves car rides. He listens really well, walks polite on the leash. So if you're looking for a small little compact dog, he's your guy. I also want to take the moment to congratulate my team last month. They did a fantastic job. It's the most dogs we've ever gotten out in a single month. September, we sent 14 dogs to rescue, and 10 dogs were adopted out of our shelter. So my team's been working hard, and I couldn't do this without them.
That's
so
awesome.
if you're looking for a dog, here's Stuart.
What's the senior citizen age?
65 and older.
We'll make a deal.
We'll make a deal.
He appears to be hospitable.
He does not. So he won't go inside his kennel. So he'll wait till you take him out to go potty. Yeah. So.
I got $50 for you right now. You want him, take him home.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Let the audience see him too. All right, now we're gonna do Texas Roadhouse. Mark, come on up. We have no cowboy hat tonight?
No, not tonight.
Oh my goodness. Come on over here. You don't want your wife over here?
No.
Are you gonna make it? So I don't know if everybody knows, but we recently had the state of Turlock, and we were blessed to have Texas Roadhouse provide 300 meals for people afterwards. And we really appreciate the community feeling, the engagement since you came to Turlock. You've been hitting it out of the park, and we really are happy for you and happy for Turlock to have it, because ours is, 1,500 square feet bigger than Modesto's or something like that? Somewhere.
Larger,
Yeah, we're bigger. That's all I want to say. Anyhow, this is a certificate of appreciation and recognition and grateful appreciation of your generous donation of providing and serving over 300 meals at the 2024 State of Turlock event held on July 18th of this year. The City of Turlock thanks you for your contribution and commitment to supporting the system event. And we really appreciate everything you did for us. Would you like to speak?
Thank you. But thank you.
Do you want to get a picture of everybody? Council?
Yeah. We'll do 500 next year. We'll commit to it.
Right. 1, 2, 3. One more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
No bread and butter tonight.
Texas Roadhouse.
I know, but we're busy here. All right, and now, Director Fisher, you're up, sir. Citywide Energy and Infrastructure Program.
Good evening, Council.
Mayor, members of the public. Tonight I want to bring you a presentation on our citywide infrastructure program that we're doing an investment grade audit. And with me I have Jason Boyd, and he's going to lead the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, members of council. Great to be in front of you again. Thanks for having me. Oh, how's the audio? Should I lean in a little more? Is this better? Okay. Hi, I'm Jason Boyd. I'm Energy Program Manager with Willdan. Happy to be here tonight to update you all on the progress that's being made on your citywide energy and infrastructure improvement program. Should I just operate the slide here? Thank you. So, agenda's pretty short and sweet, so I think we can just move right into. First and foremost, just want to do a quick refresher on the city's overall goals for this program. You want to maximize your utility savings and operational cost savings. You want to accomplish some needed repairs for city facilities and equipment, and capture as many incentives as possible so the city can get work done with less capital spend. So, and overall, the goal financially for this project is to be developed such that it can leverage the savings, incentives, and other available funds so that the upgrades can pay for themselves. And we're very happy to say that the project is being developed so it can do just that. A little bit of history here. So the city selected Willdan as your partner through a competitive process. We have then been investigating all the city facilities for opportunities, savings opportunities, as well as any needed repairs or upgrades, and have provided project options to staff, along with preliminary estimates on the costs and saving potential for staff to consider. We shared those preliminary findings with council when we last updated you here in March, and since then we've been proceeding on further development of those selected scopes. Staff selected 5 main measures for this program to focus on. Interior and exterior lighting upgrades at all the city facilities, upgrading them to LED lighting. HVAC and roofing upgrades at the city hall, as well as the facilities at the wastewater treatment plant. Solar PV, solar power generation at the wastewater treatment plant. And lastly, capturing the biogas that is currently being produced and flared at the treatment plant and refining it to pipeline quality natural gas. And since we last updated council, we've been finalizing the development of those scopes, including land studies and other due diligence at the treatment plant. We have initiated PG&E's preliminary engineering study for them to accept the biogas. We have been engaging with multiple potential off-takers, folks that would be purchasing that biogas that the city generates. And we've also been completing the procurement of the lighting, solar, roofing, and HVAC scopes to finalize the pricing on those. So for next steps, following council's guidance when we last met, and the guidance was to move forward quickly wherever possible, staff and Willdan have actually split this program into 2 phases. Because the development timelines for the biogas, particularly those related to the required PG&E studies, are going to take a little bit longer, that's being split into a second phase. Phase 1 scopes are going to include the solar PV, the LED lighting, the HVAC, and the roofing upgrades. They are also going to include a measure that will ultimately support the biogas project. So one of the main goals, as we stated for this program, is to capture as much incentive dollars for the city as possible. The biogas project is estimated to be eligible for somewhere around $4 million in federal incentives. Now, under current rules, those credits for biogas are set to expire at the end of this year. Now, the biogas project, overall has very strong financials, even without the incentives, but obviously, if you can capture an additional $4 million for the city, it makes it even better. And the good news is the city can take certain steps called safe harbor steps in order to secure its eligibility for those federal credits. The safe harbor steps include incurring 5% of the project value before the year's end and completing the purchase and delivery of some pieces of equipment. We are working to prepare multiple options for staff to consider on how to achieve that safe harbor as well as a part of the overall phase one of the project. And we should have the phase one options ready to present to council for consideration on November 12th. Phase two, again, will be focused on the biogas development, and we hope to finalize that pretty shortly after phase one, hoping to be in front of council again in early spring of next year. And just wanted to close out by highlighting the overall benefits here that are expected for the projects that your staff has selected. It's going to accomplish some very much needed repairs and upgrades to your facilities. It's going to be reducing the city's energy use and maintenance costs, and it will be taking the biogas flare that is currently a waste product and a potential regulatory risk and converting that into a revenue stream for the city. And it's going to do all this while capturing enough savings and incentives to cover the cost of the project. It's a great opportunity for the city, and we are really excited to be your partner in helping to bring it forward. So that's it for my update. Happy to take any questions, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, this is a public participation time. I do have some cards here. It is for the public to speak to us on items that are within our subject matter, and you have a 3-minute timer that you have over here and over here. So I will read off the cards that I have here, and we'll start with the Turlock Library.
Good evening, my name is Karina Mendoza, and I am the branch supervisor of the Turlock Public Library. Our story time and wiggle rooms are back in session. So Thursdays at 10 and 11, we have our preschool story time, which is kind of geared for the 3 to 5-year-olds. It's kind of fun. We share stories, music, little flannel, finger plays, all kinds of stuff like that. And then Fridays, due to the popularity of wiggle rooms, we added a second session, so it's now at 10 and 11 as well. That is our kind of a baby story time. So it's 0 to about 3. We call it wiggle worms because, well, they have a lot of wiggles. So that one's 2 stories, a lot of music and movement. And basically we do these programs not only because it's fun and it's cute, but we're also really trying to encourage these kids to get ready for kindergarten. We're teaching them the skills that they need to sit together, be with kids that they, that are not part of their family, how to interact, get them some social skills. But it's also great for parents to be able to socialize with other parents after story time, and kind of build that kind of supportive networks, just because, it's kind of lonely to be a parent with a new little one. So meeting other people and kind of getting tips and tricks, that's what we kind of do it for. We'll be doing it all this month and next month. However, we are canceling our Storytime and Wiggle Worms on October 31st and November 1st due to the election. The election's being held in our community room. And since we get such a huge crowd, it's not really feasible for us to do it inside the proper library, just because we have squirrely kids who tend to bolt. And we want to make sure it's safe for everybody. And that's all I have to share.
Thank you so much. All right, Stan State students, double teamed.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, council members, staff, and public. We thought we would come introduce ourselves in public comment and share some of our thoughts on behalf of the students of Stanton State. My name is Adrian Sanchez. I am the Associated Students Graduate Assistant.
And I'm Avery Stockland, the ASI Governmental Relations Student Coordinator.
And we want to give a little background on Associated Students. We are the official voice of the students at Stanton State. And we are a not-for-profit organization that encourages leadership development and community engagement. So we want to come out here and start building this relationship between the community and our students.
First, we'd like to thank you, Mayor, for coming out to our Warriors Explore Downtown on September 18th. We very much appreciate your appearance and the opportunity you gave students to see who our mayor is and how we can connect. We would love to continue the relationship between ASI, Stanislaus, and you, Mayor, and the rest of the council as well. We're very fortunate to have our own university in the Central Valley and want to continue the community engagement. And it's even better that our own mayor is an alumni. We hope to work with you in the future, and we'll be coming to every council meeting to stay involved. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Bill?
Good evening, council, staff, and Turlock citizens. Milt Treeweiler. I'm going to give a talk that I actually gave 2 years ago after I'd taken a trip to Germany. Tonight I'm addressing my fellow Turlock residents and our staff members. We cannot allow voter fraud and perjury in the city of Turlock. I just spent 2 weeks in a hotel room in Germany. So is it now right for me to say that I live in Germany? No, it's not correct for me to say I live in Germany. I returned here to my domicile where I live in Turlock in District 2. I'm not a resident and I don't live in Germany just because I rented a hotel room for 2 weeks. The California Election Code, as defined by the Secretary of State, defines your domicile as the place where you live, where your habitation is fixed, and where you intend to remain and return to whenever you're absent from it. Elections Code 321-349. The laws of the city of Turlock are contained in our Turlock Municipal Code. When this code is broken, it's a violation of the law. In the United States, all citizens have a civic responsibility to see that their elected officials are following the laws of our city, because no one in the city is above the law. The goal of the citizens in District 2 is to see that the municipal code that 74% of the Turlock citizens voted for when they approved electoral districts on November 4th, 2014 is followed and upheld. Here is that code. District council member. One council member shall reside in each of the 4 electoral districts established by an ordinance codified in this section and shall be elected by the vote of the voters of that district only. Each district shall elect 1 council member. A council member of each district must live in that district and must be a registered voter in that district to be eligible to hold office of council member for that district. Each council member must reside within the district for the full term of office. Termination of residency within the district shall create an immediate vacancy for that council district. The question is, why are we allowing voter fraud and perjury in the city of Turlock?
I have no other cards for public participation for just open public. I do have some for 9A and 9B. Is there anyone else who didn't fill out a card? Come on up, Ron, and then I'll let you.
Good evening. Could you please poll consent calendar item 7F, F as in Frank. I don't understand what local sales tax has to do with the memorandum of understanding, and can we have more information about how the license plate readers have helped the police department? Concerning restrooms for the homeless that was mentioned at the last meeting, it's my understanding that We Care or your United Samaritans Foundation has a hygiene center with restrooms and showers. If staff and council insist upon providing the homeless who refuse shelter and help with restrooms, did anyone consider making an arrangement with We Care and USF to use the rent that they get to keep from the housing that we've given to them lately here to fund keeping the hygiene center open 7 days a week? From what I see, on one hand, the council passes an ordinance that outlaws day and night camping in public and private places, which was done partly to encourage the homeless to go to the shelters and partake in the services they need to get out of their homeless situation. Then we learn at the last council meeting that the city manager is expending staff time researching and planning for portable restrooms to be placed at Turlock Gospel Mission for those who refuse to go to the shelters and want to continue living on the street. What gives? To put it kindly, this seems counterproductive and contrary to what the public made very clear of what it wants at the 2022 Reducing Homelessness in Turlock meetings. And as far as the last comment that was made, if someone wants to challenge the residency of a sitting elected official, they know that they have to go to the state attorney general and get permission to do that. Thank you.
Before we call the next person, go ahead, Mr. Hampton.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I'd like to respond to the member of the community who's spoken out. Not only has he misstated my testimony at the last council meeting, but he also has misstated it repeatedly in social media over the last several days. I outlined for the city council that with the council's approval in 2022-2023 for the joint venture of the day center, that the discussion and the desire of council was to have a 24-hour accessible restroom after the shelter is closed down and people are in bed, and also when the day center is closed, so that that 24-hour restroom would provide a place for basic human needs after hours. That was the direction of council. It was also in response to our downtown business community, who was seeking ways, wanted council to seek ways to try to mitigate defecation and urination in public sidewalks in front of those businesses that they were left cleaning up. And so the original design of the day center was intended to address council's desires. It was not the effort of the city manager to create an outdoor restroom. It was through the attempt to offer the city council an option, since the day center was unable to house that restroom because of the cost of building out one outside of the areas already rough plumbed for waste and water. I just want to make it very clear for the community, the city manager, myself, has never stated that I was suggesting to go and place restrooms outside of the intended use of the day center. And in fact, that restroom would be permanently located, was the suggestion, permanently located on the day center property, affixed to the waste and domestic water system and electric, so that it could serve in the same way that an interior restroom would. So I take issue with the misrepresentation of my testimony, and it's the very reason that we have these personal attacks on individual, which amounts to nothing but outright bullying. And as the city manager, I'm going to continue raising the issue and tell individuals in the community that believe that it is a popular thing to bully city staff. I'm going to continue to speak out against it. Thank you.
Young Lee.
Good evening, council members, members of the public. This is my first time speaking at a council meeting. My name's Araceli Bernard. I live on Columbia Street, very close to the work in progress, Columbia Pool. I have a few issues that I need to provide my feedback and raise concern on. The pool's not completed. I wonder how a company would get hired with no actual project completion date, and wonder if that company will pay or have reduced payment for not keeping a timeline for the completion of the pool project. I don't understand how a company that is building a $9 million project is yet to be finished. But it is easy for me to see that delays happen when the people working are just a few, the buildings that were added were pre-built, and the concrete for the pool was poured during the hot streak of July. Guess the poor kids on the west side can go another year without the pool. I see the campaign promises of having a pool open as soon as May 1st is not going to take place. I guess that year was not mentioned, and it's more likely to be completed and finally open on 2025. I visited the groundbreaking ceremony with the sign of concerns, and I find it hilarious that I was correct in all my concerns. Now that I have addressed that issue, I would like to voice my frustration and anger with the road work happening all over the west side of town. Like I mentioned previously, I live on Columbia Street. I know the street is garbage and that it needs repairs. I understand road work needs to be done. What I don't understand is how the city is not stepping in and making sure that the residents are not held hostage in their own homes with the road work. Cross streets are closed simultaneously during the day. I take my son to school during my 15-minute break from work. I have to navigate and drive around to be able to get him to school. The school is normally a 3-minute drive from my house. For the last 2 months, road work has been random. Signs show up at 5 a.m. on the day My husband has watched them as he leaves for work, placing the signs, blocking the route to school we took the day before. Again, no prior notice. There were signs of no parking for 24 hours from October 7th through the 25th on Columbia Street. Those signs have since been updated for the parking restrictions being 9 to 5, and then again 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Given that Columbia is a long block and some houses on the block don't have driveways and some residents are wheel-bound, why rush the work on Columbia when the side streets like Far and Beach have yet to be completed? We've asked the project manager for George Reed where the residents are supposed to park since Beach Street is not even close. And the answer I got was park on High Street across the park. If there's an emergency, I'm going to have to run across Columbia Park to get to my car. It's election season, and I know many promises are being made for re-election, but given the issues in my community, in my district, I know whom I won't be voting for since the city of Turlock has decided to exclude the section of Columbia Street from Beach Street to Far Street from having the curve updated and driveways redone, knowing fully well that once Columbia Pool is open in 2025, that area will have lots of people parking on the street, hitting the crumbling curves, blocking in residents who have driveways too narrow and no sidewalk. This already happens. Thank you.
Mr. Fisher, would you put your hand up so she can have an offline conversation with you? The gentleman in the back, ma'am. He's happy to help you out there. Is there anyone else who did not fill out a card that wants to speak just in public general? Okay, we will close public comment and bring it back for the consent calendar. Are there any other items besides F. Frank? If not,
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes with a 5-0. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open it to the public, although, Ron, you said that there was 2 items you wanted. I'll go ahead and see if there's any more that you were trying to condense your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, about item F? Okay, anybody else wishing to speak about it? Okay, we'll bring it back. Chief, what do you have?
At the time of the MOU approval with the Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department, in that contract, the one-time cost for the traffic safety study as well as the taxes wasn't included in that. And that cost was above the 10%, so we had to bring that back to the council to clean up. And this total cost is for the duration of the 5-year agreement and will not exceed the $627,000 that you see there for the 5-year agreement. We've had quite a bit of success with the license plate reader program here in Turlock. As we started out in 2023, we had 65 LPR reports, and this year we've already had 142 successful reports with the LPR system. Those are 13.5% breakdown of the 142 related to stolen vehicles, 6.3 related to grand theft incidents. This is where we're seeing a very successful around Monte Vista crossings and some of our major retail areas. And then 4.1% were conspiracy. That's typically related also to the retail theft crimes that we're doing and the work that we're doing with the license plate reader cameras in that space. 76% are attributed to other things. Just to give you an example, there was someone that the officers were looking for, a felony suspect. This goes back to March 5th, 2024. Officer Mulheen put the license plate for the suspect into the system. He was able to locate the vehicle, arrest the driver on the felony outstanding wants, and he located a assault rifle during that contact. So we consider that really successful. I won't go into every incident, but we're keeping track of a number of the success stories. One back in July of 2024, our officers learned of a skimming at one of our local banks. They put the license plate into the license plate reader system, and we were alerted when that person returned to town, and he was ultimately arrested. That person was wanted in multiple states for the same offense, and he was caught here in Turlock. And then the last, most recent example of license plate readers and the success is on 927 in the 2400 block of West Monte Vista. We had a homicide related to a road rage incident, and these license plate readers alone are credited with having the suspect in that incident in custody within hours. So, very successful program.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? I think Mr. Bridegroom's question was about local taxes. It was just the taxes, the cost for the purchase of the equipment. That's the relation to local taxes, correct?
This project is actually funded by cannabis funds, so not local taxes, and as a sales tax measure in some sense of the way.
But the staff report says that what was not originally in the MOU was the traffic study and,
Correct.
as well as local taxes. So is that an expense for sales tax of buying the goods?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, and it passes with 5-0. Thank you. Final readings, there are none. The next item is a public hearing on the proposed updated sewer rate 5-year plan. May we have the staff report, Mr. Fisher?
Good evening, Council, Mayor Bublak, members of the public. Tonight with me, I have Alan High Street. He is our project manager and principal consultant with NBS. Also Megan Burke, she's our rate attorney. She's been working with us on this project. Tonight, we're here to discuss the future of our sewer system and our regional wastewater treatment plant. We'll cover tonight's actions, recap of the project, address some concerns that were brought forth during the protest process. So the actions that we'll be presenting tonight, we will hold a public hearing, determine if there is a majority protest in accordance with the 218 process. If no protest exists, we will ask the council to adopt the proposed sewer rates prepared by NBS, approve the sewer rate study as prepared by NBS, approve the engineer's report and update as prepared by Carollo Engineering, and introduce and first reading of the ordinance amending the Turlock Municipal Code Title 6, which is Chapters 6.4, Articles 1, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11. These changes basically remove the details of the rate that's in our municipal code, and then they'll be reinsert rates reinsert language that allows us to adopt the rate by resolution. If the proposed rates are adopted, the rates would go into effect January 1st of 2025 and set the rates through fiscal years 28 and 29. A little bit of a recap of the project. In May of 2022, the city entered into a contract with NBS as a government finance group through the competitive bid process to conduct a sewer rate study, including a cost of service analysis. Staff worked with NBS to deliver and analyze all of the historical data. This is all the financial records, plant loading data, operation and maintenance costing, regulatory changes, capital planning, including the sewer master plan. Create and validate a financial plan. Equitably allocate revenue requirements to the customer classes in compliance with state law and industry standards. Determine the best rate structure for the collection of the rate revenue. Once these were finalized, the staff and NBS presented an update to the council on the project. We did that on June 25th of 2024, and immediately after we began our outreach efforts. August 13 of 2024, the council authorized the staff to proceed with the 218 process in which the notices were mailed, and the staff continued to work on the outreach efforts. The key objectives of this study really is, like we talked a lot before, is the rates will not exceed the actual cost of the service that we provide. The rate design will represent the actual cost of the customer classes and ensure the revenue will only be used to deliver the essential services and maintain fiscal solvency by maintaining adequate reserves and capital planning funding. These slides summarize the concerns that have been raised during the protest process. We've received some feedback through both our one-on-one industry meetings as well as the letters that have come back. One of the first concerns that come out, we try to summarize them and categorize them, so it was transparency. The sewer rate documents the city's revenue needs and the actual cost of the service analysis, and they apportion those revenue needs to the customer classes based on their actual contributions to the plant. All of these details are provided in the body of the sewer rate study. The sewer rate study is online, and we presented it to anybody that required or asked for it, both in a paper form and a physical or an electronic copy. We also had significant public engagement activities following the 25th council briefing. Staff immediately began the public outreach efforts, and these included dedicated web page, a rate calculator. We had public meetings. We did one-on-one with all the significant industrial users. We had a frequently asked questions page. Obviously, the mailer. We had phone calls, and we were able to meet with 100% of the significant industrial users, which is the class that is most severely affected by the realignment. Another concern that came up was the economic impact, and we're pretty aware that that this is a significant change. So recognizing that, we met with all SIUs. We wanted, our goal was to discuss the findings of the study. We talked about the proposed changes in the rates. We reviewed a typical bill versus the current typical bill versus a new bill under the proposed. We did we explained the 218 process and why we're required to take the realignment in the first year. We also worked with them to explore alternative ways to reduce contributions to the system. Some of those are administrative controls. Some of them, are just connecting with different partners that we have in the industries and understand that if they can look at the land apply, we're open to those ideas as well. Talking a little bit about optimizing their use of their pre-treatment systems that they have on site. They have a pretty profound impact if they're able to optimize those. Our liquid waste hauler programs to take some of the solids from them to avoid traveling charges. And I think it's important to say that these examples aren't new. This is something we've always done, but they seem, they're more important now that the rates have changed. But we've always really tried to have a community partnership with our pre-treatment program. And I think one of the resounding things in the comments that we got from our significant industrial members is how well, our pre-treatment program, specifically the people that work in there. So we were pleased to hear that. Some of the other concerns, we talk about was exploring alternatives, that being alternatives to rates, alternatives to funding, and those types of things. While additional revenue is a portion of the increase, the realignment of the revenue is the majority of the increase that our significant industrial users are seeing. The city, is required by the Prop 218 is that we have to do a full realignment in the first year of the rate study. It's pretty clear on that. We carefully examined all of the projects in our master plan. We had a $252 million capital improvement plan for the 10-year. We cut that to $125 million. And we focused only on the priorities, only on the things that make a difference to keep. So, when we refurbish an asset, it's a lot cheaper than building a new asset, because when you build a new asset, it's a whole different ballgame when it comes to, seismic regulations and whatnot. We always actively seek grant opportunities. We find that in this current climate, there's not a whole lot of grant opportunities for things for refurbishment of existing sewer systems. These sewer systems were funded primarily by federal and state grants in the 70s and 80s. Ratepayers only paid about 20% of the total cost of this plant, and we've been maintaining it this entire time. We do find that there is hope. There is there definitely some additional focus on infrastructure, but we are actively seeking federally earmarked monies. We have been successful in gaining some of those. The most recent one, we requested $68.5 million, and that was the Water Resources Development Act. All of the things that we can do, and I know with the help of our congressional partners, we'll go out and really advocate to get some of this money. One of the last concerns was Proposition 218 principles. These concerns were brought forward in the context of demonstrating the current rates are disproportionate. And I'm hoping that I explained as well as that there was a disproportionate, and that's what we're looking to correct, and that's why it's seeming like that. And as well as the votes, the 218 process, it's one vote per parcel, and the law is pretty clear on that. There's no way to weight votes based on their contribution. You can do it in matters of property, but for rates of water and sewer, there's the law is pretty clear on that. One thing that I do always want to mention is the cost of service analysis that that NBS demonstrates the proposed industrial rates are aligned with the actual cost of service for the flow, BOD, and TSS, and everybody pays the same rate. The only thing that changes is the amount, the contribution. And we did cover the last piece of it is one vote per parcel, whether you rent or own. So, we'll count all those votes as we're done tonight. And the recap, again, we're here, we're going to hold the public hearing, determine if a majority protests exist, and then we'll vote, the council can vote to move to adopt the proposed sewer rates, and then approve the sewer rate study, approve the engineer's report, and then we'll do the first reading of the hearing. I'll open up for any questions.
So, one of the things I've heard is that we're just supplanting the general fund?
No.
Okay, so enterprise is bifurcated?
It is completely separate. We are focusing on revenue streams to offset the costs, and those are non-rate revenues. So, we have recycled water sales. We're focusing on cost avoidance, putting the solar field in. We're also, the biogas has a pretty significant return, about $2.6 to $2.7 million every year of revenue that will apply and reduce the overall cost, but nothing from the general fund at all.
Other questions for the director? Okay, so this is the time that set aside for the public, and anyone wishing to file a written protest against the proposed sewer rates, you must deliver it to the city clerk before the close of the public hearing. Notice that tonight's public hearing was sent out to all property owners and all sewer customers. Only written protests that are received by the clerk before I close this hearing tonight will be counted. If written protests are received from a majority of the parcels that would be subject to the new rates, council will not adopt the rates. So I will open the public hearing now, and I have just a few blue cards that we'll start with, and Mr. Decker.
Sorry about that.
You okay?
I'm fine. My name is Richard Decker. My wife and I have lived in Turlock for approximately 40 years. And I came tonight to speak in favor of the new sewer rates. We're on Social Security, and any change to that effect is a positive for us. So please pass that. Thank you.
Marin?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Marion Pitt, and I'm with the Manufacturers Council of the Central Valley. We're a 35-year-old nonprofit organization focused on supporting and advocating on behalf of the region's largest traded sector employers, meaning those are the employers who create and generate living wage jobs and are a value-added sector to the economy in the region. In short, those in manufacturers in Turlock service area are deeply concerned about the proposed sewer rate increases being hurriedly brought to adoption before this council. My comments will focus on the following: the timing and the city's failure to plan, the Proposition 218 protest majority when not all classes of users are affected equally, flaws in the rate study and its modeling, questionable fiscal assumptions, and some recommendations. So we understand that there has been no rate increases in the sewer for the last 11 years and no rate studies since 2008. So the current study was authorized more than 2 years ago, but now we're in a hurry. That doesn't make sense. The city's failure to plan is not a sufficient reason to hurriedly adopt a new rate structure and not provide a planning horizons for the system's largest users to plan accordingly. This process is not a business or an economic development friendly strategy. No amount of handing out anniversary certificates is going to wash away some of the bad taste this process has unfolded for these businesses. According to the rate study in the 218 process, the city has 25,000 connections to the wastewater system, but only about 1,200 of these connections are proposed to see 2 times to 4 times increases in sewer rates. However, the protest process that the city has utilized is 1 protest vote per parcel. The residential users are going to see an initial slight decrease of about $5 a month, but there is not proportional or weighted voting based on those affected. I believe that there's case law concerning equal protection and weighted voting based on the impact under Not About Water Committee versus the Board of Supervisors 2002. Even if all 1,200 affected accounts protested, how would they ever reach a majority? Proportional voting based on impact is allowed under Prop 218. As it has to be set out prior in a resolution based on council adopting a resolution for proportional voting. In meetings with city staff, they have stated that they believe in 2 to 3 years, based on the new change to how residential users are being charged and billed, meaning no longer based on the fixture unit count, that residential users will again be the largest users of the wastewater system. This information does not to be included in the study nor the rate table, in which case half the length of the 5-year rate schedule would be incorrect. The fee study also makes a large number of assumptions in the fee model that are flawed. The fee study treats Turlock companies who pay
you, Ms.
millions.
Smith. Thank you. Jeff from Foster Farms?
Mayor and City Council, appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you today. All of you should have received our protest letter from our legal counsel last week. So, I'm assuming you had the opportunity to take a look at it. So the points that we're going to share are going to be very similar to what Marin just shared. We talk about the length of the study, the time. I think I saw the June meeting is when it came before council. Okay, we didn't hear anything about it personally, and I have responsibility for all Foster Farms operations here within the city, until we had a meeting with the staff here on the 26th of August. Okay, I came in with some of my team members expecting. We understand. We're in a pretty competitive business that we will. There's rate increases coming, so we're walking in the 10, 11 years that we've talked about with no change. 30, 40% to sit down and get handed a mock-up of a month's bill showing about a 300% increase. To sit there and look at that. I mean, that was not even something that was fathomable. So again, short time that we've got to prepare for this. As we said, to me, the process needs to be paused. We need to look at phase-in opportunities, and there needs to be exploration of other options. With coming off the city's own website, you talk about being the benefits of having a business in Turlock, and you talk about Turlock being the Silicon Valley of food processing, and that every city department and employee understands and promotes economic development in a city is the primary concern. Okay, if that's truly the primary concern, it's not being expressed that way. So anyway, just wanted to share that and our concern, and obviously you've got it in writing what our concerns are. So anyway, thank you.
Travis?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, public. So I'm going to be expressing the same concerns as the other industrial users. So my name is Travis Hill. I'm the site director for Blue Diamond Growers and Turlock facility here. So probably very well known, Blue Diamond, the brand and the ingredients that we make for the world when it comes to the almonds. Our facility, 250,000 square feet, resides here in Turlock. I get the honor of leading 160 team members, and we take great pride of being an employer for Turlock and be able to lead that team here. So as a farmer cooperative, we're much different than other organizations and businesses. We basically take all of our proceeds and our benefits, we put it back into the communities in the view of our growers. So hearing this increase, it concerns us because, as expressed by other individuals, it's a 400% increase potentially that may hit our budget. To kind of summarize that in financial terms, about $300,000 increase in operating costs for our facility here in Turlock. These dollars will not only put an impact on the business, but also our employees and also our small family growers that support the co-op. So Blue Diamond, especially the Turlock facility, appreciates that improvements need to be made. We understand that. We run a facility, but this should be done in a manner of prioritizing feedback, recognition, some of the concerns from those industrial users just around the timing, the lack of transparency. Feels like this was not deployed in the best benefit of the heavy industrial users. So as a community member, Blue Diamond wants to be part of the solution. Like I said, we understand that the increase is warranted based on infrastructure's upside. But however, the increase is, we feel like, once again, had a lack of engagement. So Blue Diamond recently also invested $5 million in capital infrastructure to help support some of the pre-treatment that was shared by Chris and the rest of the team. So we're making those adjustments and those investments. However, just with the timing and stuff like that, unfortunately, we're not going to have time to plan for that, and having to go to our board and essentially say the ROI has now just not panned out. After doing our due diligence, it's a tough pill to swallow. So Our overall concerns, like I said, is the ongoing effects of how this is going to impact our business. Not only is this taking money away from earmarked funds that were potentially going to go to our employees that not only reside in this community, but also, like I said, we want to be part of the solution. We want to be able to leverage our partnership that we have, but just feels like the timing that has been disposed upon us in this quick timeline is being a little bit unfair to the industrial users. So, with respect to council, we'd like to delay this proposal, find a more robust engagement and collaboration. We believe through collaboration we can find a path and a solution that we feel like can help support the infrastructure needs for the city, but also support the best interests of the industrial users.
Thank you. I have no other cards. Is there anyone? Nope.
Number one fear of most of people that held in a national survey last year was corrupt governor officials. All you have to do is look around to see why people are corrupt. The objective is The objective is to give the rich more money by making the middle class and the low income class pay for everything. This is a sickness that some people suffer from. The sewer rate schedule is equitable and just. It charges the people and users who create the most waste, the most money, and the people that produce the least waste, the least money. The middle class and the low income class should not be subsidizing Turlock industry. I'm not sure if some of the people and businesses lost their mind and just don't understand what they're doing to the middle class and the lower class people. I do know they're wrong because the sewer rate schedule is just and equitable. Trying to stop this just proposal that staff has presented would be wrong. It would make our Turlock citizens pay for the processing of industrial waste that the industry is producing. People who support injustice can only be stopped by voting them out of office. The rate schedule presented lowers the sewer rates for all Turlock residents because we produce the least amount of sewer waste. This is equitable and just, and that's the way it should be. Let's do what's equitable and just and approve this as proposed for all the residents of Turlock. We residents must stand up for our rights to pay for what we consume and not subsidize Turlock Industries. It's impossible for me to understand how people can be so selfish and make money their sole concern. There seems to be no interest or concern for people who are less fortunate than they are. Where is your empathy and love for those less fortunate than you? And I could say Elon Musk would be a good example. How many billions of dollars do you need? I mean, I know you need to operate, but this is equitable, and it doesn't have to come on one fall swoop. But it needs to be done, and the industry needs to be responsible for it. I'm tired of citizens having to subsidize Turlock industry or any industry. That is not the way it should be. We have just as many rights as any other person, regardless of how much money you make. I've lived on the west side for 51 years. This is my place, and I love it. And I do not like the inequity and this idea that just because we don't have as much money as you can take our money away from us. It's ridiculous, and it needs to be changed. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak regarding this item?
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, and the public. I'm here to represent California Dairies. We're a local business here and heavily affected by the sewer rate increases. I do want to thank Director Fisher and the Mayor for making time available to discuss this, even though it was a short window of opportunity for us to get our heads around this proposed increase. You guys have been available in that time. But we do feel that the short window, obviously, like a lot of the other industrial users, is a difficult budgeting item for any industry and for any government, anyone that has to keep a budget. You're on a fixed, it's not something that you can just throw in a few $1 million and think that that's going to not affect something else. Our California Dairies plants, we have 2 in Turlock. They employ over 270 employees with high-paying full-time jobs. as well as our cooperative of member owners, dairy processors or dairy producers in the Turlock area, hundreds of jobs that our community relies on. Our facility and our process, part of our process is to remove water from the milk. A gallon of milk contains 87% water. So if we're successful and we bring in more milk to our business, we're penalized, and these rate increases will make any growth a very difficult thing for us to succeed here. Because if we're bringing in more milk, if we're producing more, we're actually sending 87% more water out of the back of our facilities, and that will come at about a 300% cost in the millions of dollars for us. So for us to sustain is going to be a difficult ask even in the next year's budget if this were to pass. But for growth, this really limits our capability to grow our industry in Turlock. I hope that you guys push this issue, and we can work together like we have in the last couple months and come up with a better solution that allows for more planning on our part. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Ron.
We'll move this up just a bit so people don't trip. I seem to remember the last time that this was discussed, which I forget when it was, a month or so ago. I did ask the question about how this might affect the attractiveness of Turlock for additional businesses. And I guess we have gotten our answer here tonight. As a resident, I like to see the rates being lowered, no question about that, for residents. What is fair, I really don't know, between the residents and the industrial users. I will make one comment that someone has made to me. Basically, he felt that the people in the city are subsidizing families and multiple families living in the same house because you're charged based upon the fixtures, the number of fixtures in your house, okay? You know, one person generates only a certain amount of waste that goes to the water quality control plant, whereas if you have a large family or multiple families living in the same size house with the same number of fixtures, they're generating a lot more, okay? His idea was to look at the water bill for like December, where you're not really irrigating the landscaping, and that would be your base. That would be primarily using the shower and the toilets, so on and so forth, and then being charged based upon that. So that was something that someone said to me.
Anyone else? Come on.
John Gebeline. This is one of the things that has driven me crazy for many, many years. It's just, Turlock has had problems, just like a lot of other cities, about getting infrastructure things done and just keeping on top of it and everything. And I realize it has to do with revenues and everything else. But this is just an example of doing. I have no idea, you know, what we are and what rules are. And I know Modesto had problems with the canneries. They were causing all sorts of problems with the affluent and everything else like that. And there's no doubt, you know, they create a lot of waste and everything like that. But it's part of it. But, you know, listen, I'm no apologist for any business or anything else like that. But they have a business to run, and if you tell somebody that, you know, let's say your electricity rates are going to go up 400% or something like that, Well, I don't care what it was. I don't care if it's residential or business or anything else like that. If somebody knows that it's gonna go up in, in a couple of years and it's gonna go gradually up, just like we did with the water rates. We would gradually raise them so people had a chance to do it. So I can't tell you, what, if this is something that has to be done right away, whatever the legal ramifications are with Prop 218 and things, that it has to happen right away and everything else like that. But I'm on their side, that when you throw something like this, and I don't know when this is going to happen, if it's going to happen in the next couple months, but it's a big cost, and they provide jobs and income and everything else for Turlock. So that is something that, that you have to take into account. Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I'm representing Denair Community Service District. We are an industrial discharge permit number 2. We send about 9 to 10 million gallons a month to City of Turlock. If the proposed rates go in effect as they are proposing, if I read the literature correctly, our costs will go up about $250,000 a year, which will affect our ratepayers about $14 a month. We'll have to pass that on to them. And as we know, everything is tight right now. Everything's going up. I just feel the timing is wrong to come out in August. We pass our budget in July 1st to June 30th. This will affect our budget if you decide to pass this. It's in the middle of a budget. We don't have that budgeted in our account, so I propose this to be postponed and for cities. I mean, these industrial users provide thousands of jobs in the city of Turlock for you guys, and to throw a 400% increase to an industrial plant that provides jobs, that buy houses in Turlock, pay property taxes in Turlock. I'm representing Denair, but I feel for the industrial users here in Turlock because they're going through the same problem we are. I mean, 100% increase to 150% increase is huge on short notice. So Denair Service District strongly opposes this rate increase. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Mr. Fisher, you want to start picking those off?
Yeah, I don't know that there were any questions in there per se, but I do want to just make a comment that, when we met with all these industrial users, everybody was incredibly gracious and understanding. So I certainly appreciate that, because delivering hard news is not always, and a lot of these individuals I've worked alongside with, and I've known them for a lot of time. I do want to address the 400% increase. While each business is unique, they're based on 3 characteristics. We modeled their bills, and we didn't really, we didn't see a 400% increase, but we did see a significant increase, range from about 144% to about 288%. And that's based on the, on a June bill, which is an average bill. Obviously, if there's plant upsets and whatnot, then their bills could go up considerably, but that would be outside of the norm. And another couple of things is, when we look at what we're paying, we modeled everything, or what we're collecting, we modeled everything, and we did a mass balance on it. And if we looked at what, the other, like say, community services charged, they were right in line with what our residentials are paying. So, it speaks to the strength of the model, and we can certainly go over that individually in a sidebar meeting. And I didn't see any other questions per se to answer.
There was some, I guess maybe we'll just go through, like, are we going to fix this for the future?
Yeah, and something that Mr. Hampton had recommended was that we put in our municipal code that we do this more frequently, as best practices every 5 years, and staff intends to bring that back.
Okay. If we postpone, what happens?
One, we lose revenue, but also we'll delay our CIP by a process of 1 year. $125 million worth of CIP can turn into $7 to $11 million in escalation costs by simply delaying it 1 year. Also, we look at from a borrowing standpoint, some of those vehicles will close up for us based on the amount of reserves. We have to have that, that debt to income balance.
I maybe go to Mr. Petrolakis in regard to case law about voting. No, that's enough.
Megan
I think we
can
have
probably
special
answer that.
counsel
Yeah.
here, much more capable of that one.
Oh, look at that.
Booyah.
Good evening. Prop 218, the procedure for adopting water and sewer fees, which are property-related fees, is to do a 45-day notice that is mailed to all of the property owners, and then hold this public hearing tonight. Each parcel is permitted to submit a protest that can be submitted by either the property owner or the tenant, but only one protest is counted per parcel. Then the rates can't be adopted if there is majority protest. There are other procedures under Prop 218 for assessment districts that do weighted ballots. That is not the procedure for water and sewer fees, which are property-related fees. And the vast majority of water and sewer utilities, whether cities or special districts, adopt their fees through this process.
All right. Let's see. When did you start reaching out for you and your staff to contact the heavy users?
It was the week after the June 25th council presentation. Once we presented to council, we immediately began. We sent an email blitz to all the, and we got some feedback. So then we worked through all of those returned emails.
Okay. And if they didn't respond?
Well, we followed up, and then in some cases, we actually went to the businesses. We sent our industrial compliance inspector out and made sure that they were personally aware of the changes.
Did I miss anything? Yeah, sure.
Ms. Burke, right? I have a question about the 218 process. Director Fisher said that, it's, maybe I'm misunderstanding, so please help me. It's sort of twofold. We have a realignment and then also a rate increase to cover our operational costs. The realignment has to happen within the first year. Can
Correct.
you help? What is
Yeah.
that timeline then? I'm just trying to understand what
So
can happen.
under Prop 218, there's a few different substantive requirements, but they basically boil down to the total amount of revenue that you bring in with your rates can't exceed the total costs of providing that sewer service. But in addition to that, you need to proportion those costs among customer classes. So what happens every time you do a rate update, and particularly when you haven't done a rate update for some time, when you do that allocation of cost to each customer class, you're going to find that the characteristics of those customers have changed since the last time you looked at it, and that there needs to be what we call realignment, where you say, okay, one customer class actually needs, their usage is higher than it was 15 years ago when we did this before, so we need to allocate more cost to that customer class. Because Prop 218 requires you to adopt rates that are proportionate, and because the utility is self-sufficient, so you're only using ratepayer revenues, and as Director Fisher said, sometimes other revenues generated by that sewer utility. If you phase in one customer class's rate increases, that means that over time, these other customer classes will be essentially subsidizing their cost. Because then when you go to do your next rate update, your reserves will be a little lower because you were, allowing that phase in for just the one customer class. So it's a little complicated, but basically the answer is you have a duty to do proportionate rates. And once you do a cost of service study and you see that they're out of proportion, you need to correct that moving forward, and that needs to happen in the first year.
Question?
So for clarification again, our hands are basically tied by this, are they not?
Prop 218 requires you to adopt proportionate rates, and this cost of service study has shown that you need a realignment in order to make those rates proportionate. So, yes, Prop 218 requires you to adopt the proportionate rates in that first year and not phase in the realignment.
All right, if there's no more questions, at this point, I will close the public hearing, and we will take a 5-minute break for the city clerk trainee to count the protests. All right, we will reconvene. City Clerk Trainee, can you tell me if there's a majority protest against the proposed rates?
The city clerk's office has received 29 protests with regards to the new sewer rates. There are 18,108 parcels subject to the sewer rate. Therefore, a majority protest has not been filed.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Fisher.
One thing I do want to bring up, and it was mentioned in the last meeting, we started the 218 process for the city to look at alternatives to help, ease us in that we could use that were within the 218 process. So the staff worked at looking at a non-rate revenue, which would mean any revenue that we've collected, any interest via from the penalties, and those penalties are primarily by the significant industrial users. So there's about $2.2 million in that fund. the city plans or the staff plans to bring at the next council meeting a motion to start an industrial assistance program. We're going to take that rate revenue, that non-rate revenue, and then apply it equitably across all the customer classes and of the 18 significant industrial user or those. And it turns out to be about 25% of credit on their bill. And that money should last about 6 months at their current usage. Obviously, if it increases or decreases, if it decreases, it'll last much longer. If it increases, it'll be shorter. But the way the resolution is written, we plan to bring that next council meeting.
Super exciting. Thank you for that. All right, discussion?
Man, it's hard. Thank you, Director Fisher. I know this was not something that was easy for you, so, and none of us like it. None of us want to see anyone hurt by increases, but Prop 218, as my colleague said, kind of ties our hands. We'd like it. I'm glad you're bringing something forward to help alleviate some of the hurt. I'm sorry that this has to happen.
Regarding I think the mayor brought up the point that doing this more often will make it so we don't have 11 years and then all of a sudden everything needs to change. Putting that in the municipal code, do you anticipate that to come back pretty readily as well?
Yes.
Like tomorrow?
We will try to get it before the council prior to the first meeting in December.
Wonderful. I just want to say that business is important to me. I did meet with most of the businesses with Mr. Fisher and staff. I understand the fiscal impact, and I truly can't grasp it myself that you forecast to do something within a budgeted year. And so that's why Mr. Fisher and staff were working hard to find some resolution. It's not the biggest hunk of money for you, but it is something that we heard you, we're trying to help you. And perhaps there's other things that could be discussed as well. At the same time, unfortunately, this is where we're at, and what is the will of council?
Move to approve 9A.
Second.
Right, we have a motion and a second for 9A. Call the roll.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Vixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, it passes 5-0 on all three. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Thank you for all of you for coming, and please don't stop reaching out to us because we do want to help you try and figure out how to resolve some of this. All right, the next item is a reading of an ordinance extending the development agreement with Perfect Union in the city of Turlock.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and members of the public. The item before you tonight before you is an introduction of the first ordinance amending, extending the amendments for three of our cannabis retail users, or two of our cannabis retail users and one manufacturer.
Director Fisher, can you guys, thank you, go outside, appreciate it, sorry.
That's okay. Do you want me to start over?
I think we're going good, thanks.
So as I outlined in a staff report, at the June council meeting, the council determined not to put the cannabis tax on the November ballot. So working with the city attorney, we do have three cannabis operators that their DAs are coming up for renewal or expiration. We first had the pilot program put in place in 2019, which was 5 years ago. So in light of the fact that we're not putting on a ballot, we needed to find some way to extend those development agreements to figure out what we're going to do in the future. So the first one is Perfect Union. Their development agreement would be expiring on October 24th. So with the request to extend the development agreement, it was brought to the Planning Commission for a recommendation to the City Council. So at the September meeting, Planning Commission did recommend that they extend the development agreements through June 30th of 2025. Under the development agreements, there were first amendments or amendments that would have been able to be done at the city manager level, and those were done prior to our city manager, his leave of absence at this time. So what you see before you now are the ones that are going to extend it out to June 30th, where we had originally just kind of not necessarily an emergency, but to try to bridge the gap for these 3 that are coming up for extension, to bridge that gap to December 31st. But then we're wanting to extend it to June 30th in order to allow the cannabis operators to have some dialogue with city staff before we come back to City Council. And that was one of the things that we heard from City Council, that you wanted to have those operators involved in those discussions. So that's the reason for the extension through June 30th. So I can take any
Questions from the board? Okay. We'll open it first to Perfect Union, and Sean and/or Angelica, whoever wants to go first.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Angelica Sanchez, and I'm here representing Perfect Union. So we opened our doors in Turlock in the fall of 2020, and over the past 4 years, we've become a positive addition to the community. We began in the legal medical cannabis market in 2009, and we remain deeply committed to serving the community for the past 15 years. For us, cannabis is more than a business. It's plant medicine. Through our compassion program, we've supported patients in Turlock suffering from conditions like cancer, epilepsy, Crohn's, and multiple sclerosis. Our compassion program provides free cannabis products to those in need, underscoring our commitment to community and alternative medicine. We're also proud to have been unionized with the United Food and Commercial Workers Union for the last 14 years. This ensures that every one of our employees receives a living wage, along with comprehensive benefits, including medical, dental, vision, and retirement. By doing this, we contribute to the economic stability of local families and ensure our employees are well taken care of. While we may not be the highest volume cannabis operator in Turlock, we believe we have the most heart. Extending our development agreement is essential. Without it, our ability to operate and continue providing union-backed jobs in Turlock would come to an end, and the community programs and economic contributions we work hard to build would be lost. Tonight, I ask for your support in extending our development agreement so we can continue to serve the patients who depend on us and provide secure union jobs to our employees. Thank you.
Sean?
A little taller. Good evening, council, mayor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Sean Raycraft. I'm a district union representative with United Food and Commercial Workers Local 8. As you may know, UFCW 8 represents over 30,000 members in Northern and Central California who work in retail food stores, drug stores, processing plants such as Foster Farms here in Turlock, as well as cannabis locations throughout our jurisdiction. We are proud to stand in support of Perfect Union, a valued employer who has had a labor contract with UFCW 8 for over a decade. Through their union contract, Perfect Union demonstrates its commitment to its employees by providing industry-leading wages, comprehensive health care, retirement benefits, and much more. As a cannabis retailer that prioritizes workers' rights and well-being, Perfect Union sets a high standard for this industry. Therefore, we urge the City Council to extend their development agreement, allow Perfect Union to continue to provide stable, well-paying jobs in our community. It is my wedding anniversary tonight, so I am going to, thank you. I'm going to go home so I can celebrate the next one. So, thank you much.
Smart. Anyone else wishing to speak regarding Perfect Union? Okay, we will close public comment, bring it back.
Move to approve 9B. This guy's got to go.
Second.
Wow, okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
No, it passes 4-1. Happy anniversary. All right, we'll move on to the next one, which is Firehouse. Go party.
gonna just open the public. Oh, she's gotta do her thing again.
Yeah.
So-
Change the name.
Yeah, to protect the innocent, yeah.
I think Mr. Warda wants his time.
Mr. Ward is here, he can talk.
So Firehouse, their development agreement also expires in October. So the same thing, we're asking to extend it to June 30th.
I'll open it to public. Mr. Warda, would you like to speak, sir?
Lawyers should be succinct.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Since we've been open, Firehouse has contributed about 3.3 million in the facility, in the public benefit fee. It has employed quite a few folks. It's been an operator that's had no issues with the state, law enforcement. We look forward to working with the city to try and clean up anything it wants to do with the ordinances we're coming up, and discuss the possible issues that relate to the election and taxation in the future. If you have any questions. Nope. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on Firehouse? Okay, we'll close public comment.
Move to approve 9C.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Vixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
No, it passes 4-1. Congratulations. On to JDI Farms.
Mr. Devon is here.
Thank you.
Yes, so,
But Ms. Warner is too.
JDI Farms is one of the indoor cannabis cultivators that we have one of two. Their DA it will be expiring in November, so we're asking for the same extension to June 30th.
All right. Opening it to the public.
Lawyers should be succinct.
Wow.
Mayor Bublak, members of the council, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be heard. I'm Zach Trevon here on behalf of JDI Farms. I'll keep it very brief. We are very happy to be here with the unanimous recommendation of the Planning Commission. Although this project has had some delays getting off the ground with development, we've recently secured and had our building permit issued. We've secured an investor to help push the development forward, and we look forward to doing business here in the city once we get our TIs completed and up and running towards the end of next year. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and thank you again for the time.
Questions? Thank you. Okay, anyone else speaking on JDI? Okay, we'll close public comment.
Move to approve 9D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Vixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
No, and it passes almost unanimous, sorry, with a 4-1.
She
Thank
can't
you.
help herself.
I can't help myself. All right, Director Sims. Action item. Are you ready?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the public. The item before you tonight is asking council to approve a resolution that authorizes the city manager to enter into an agreement with California State University Fresno Foundation to offer parent university virtual educational training classes at no cost to Turlock residents. An economic development goal of the city is to support and partner with organizations that have the ability to provide workforce development, talent development, and educational training programs to Turlock residents. The parent university virtual courses include the following subjects: digital literacy, financial literacy, parenting skills, pathway to college, health and wellness, small business development, social emotional learning, English conversion, Spanish conversion. Parent University's virtual classes will be available for all Turlock residents. Turlock residents will have the ability to register for as many training courses as they want throughout the duration of the agreement. Courses will be offered for the months of August through June. Winter and summer classes may be offered if enough Turlock residents register for winter and summer classes. Each course will meet 2 times per week, 2 hours of instruction per training session, virtually for a duration of 4 weeks. Upon completing each course, participants will be provided certificates of completion from California State University, Fresno. Parent University educational classes will offer the Turlock community a valuable opportunity to enhance knowledge and skills. Continued investment in education will better position Turlock to attract innovative companies and support local businesses in their growth. This workforce development initiative will strengthen our community and foster a more dynamic economic environment. The cost for the city to participate in Parent University is $7,000 per year. The Parent University annual program contains 6 enrollment sessions throughout the year. Since we are joining 2 months into their academic year, we were able to negotiate the first year's cost down from $7,000 to $4,000. So council is being asked to approve this item, but amending it to reflect the first year's cost to be $4,000. And also note, if approved tonight, residents can start registering for classes as soon as tomorrow. As the next set of courses start on October 21st, if approved, we will be sharing flyers and registration links on the city website and social media pages immediately. If there are further questions regarding this item, we have with us via Zoom Ms. Erica Del Toro, the program manager from Fresno State Parent University.
Questions for Director or Ms. Del Toro?
I do. Director Sims, this might be more for Ms. Del Toro, but Parent University is a little bit of a misnomer, right? This is available for people of all ages, correct? High schoolers, everybody.
Correct, all ages.
Okay.
Will feedback be given to us, how many people are taking advantage of this? And if we commit now and we find out that we've got 3 people that are using it, I'm not sure that's a great waste or great use of funds. And
Use the right word.
I'm assuming there'll be some feedback on usage?
Yeah, we can provide data debriefings, monthly if need be. And they also have an outreach team too. They'll help with us to get people to enroll in the courses as well from Turlock.
Other questions? All right, let's open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Abrams?
I just want to make one quick comment that when we do get to roll this out starting tomorrow, I really hope that we will market this to our different partners, the Turlock 2 USD Family
Yep.
Resource Center, the Community Collaborative, because there's a lot of different groups that are connected with people that could really benefit from this, and I will vote yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
As will I. Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Definite yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, it passes 5-0. Thank you, Director Sims. All right, Mr. Petrolakis.
Mayor and council members, at the September 12th special meeting of the City Council, the council directed me to return to you with a motion regarding the matter involving Councilmember Bixel. One suggestion is in the staff report, so I've returned with that motion. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Okay, let's open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Ron?
I wanted to thank our city attorney for including the email that was accidentally left out. And in all transparency, I remember looking through the emails that was in the previous agenda package, and I missed it myself. So, what can you say? But thank you for including it, because I think it was important to be able to show the entire story. Okay? And I wanted to thank Councilman Bixel for being honest and taking responsibility. I appreciate that, though I know it had been difficult. Yeah, I agree. And as an aside, that was the longest yes that I've ever heard.
Amen.
So, so that was interesting.
A new record.
Yeah, a new record. I kind of wish it hadn't been handled in this manner. I went to great extents to not identify the person. I used the term the individual in phone calls with the city attorney. And I had hoped that it could have been dealt with internally, quietly. But that turned out not to be possible. I also wanted to make sure that the information that I was given, I felt could have been extremely damaging to any attempts of the city to stop the development on Colorado. That's the reason why I didn't say anything, okay? You know, I could have blasted it on social media, made every one of you look very bad, but I chose not to, because my motivation is what is good for Turlock. And we may disagree about that, but that's my motivation. But that's all I wanted to say. So again, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back. I do want to just say that I appreciate what you said, that you owned it. My biggest concern is that within the email, one of the emails, it talks about how two supervisors actually credited the brilliance of Alamo, and that they know the loopholes and the muni codes of the cities, and then they didn't have to they did not anticipate such a situation, and that they'd be through it. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but that concerns me greatly.
And they are open now, correct? Or they have people there?
Temporary occupancy.
It was issued.
I don't know if we can say this.
So they did get their final building inspection, and so that's been signed off. There is some paperwork that they have to get from the fire marshal to provide to the state, and I believe they'll be getting that tomorrow or by the end of the week, that they then have to submit to the state in order to be able to have their clients move in.
Thank you.
So, yeah, no, so they're open. There's nothing we can do about it. And I said it before, we need to move on, and I get it. As an attorney, it burns my cookies badly that I will never know where our litigation would have taken us, but we need to move on.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram? Yes. Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passed 5-0. All right, next is Ms. Warner, and you should have stayed up here. Possibly Mr. Hampton.
Can I say one thing?
Why not?
I actually
Sure.
have completed and have a certificate that has been submitted to the clerk.
Oh, okay. You're ahead of us. Thank you. Ms. Warner, TGM.
TGM. So tonight is we're bringing back some discussion from the last meeting we had with council. The last meeting we went through pretty much the problems that we experienced with TGM. So unless you have other questions about that, I won't go over that again. But today the city manager and I met with representatives from TGM to discuss the issues that council had brought to us. So we had come to some resolution, and that's what I'm bringing forward to you today. So tonight, there were things that we had you wanted to have an operating agreement. So they did provide that for us, and we had included the items that council had wanted to see, things like the operating 7 days a week, document and tracking. So they have included that information in their operating agreement. Access to restrooms, cell phone charging, mail services. So they will be providing those services at the day center. I did speak with Mr. Kiriakou about the 7 days a week, and apparently they have gotten some feedback from the neighbors in the area that they didn't like the day center open 7 days. So that's why we only see the 5 days in the operating agreement. But I'll let him address that if you have any questions about that. They will have to document, they will have documentation, and we'll be providing regular reports to our housing department about not having unduplicated guests, residents or clients coming to the day center. So they do have to put that information in the HMIS system. So they will also be providing those reports and information to us on a quarterly basis, on a regular basis. We also asked them at council's will to also provide us, how they are succeeding, so that we can determine, is what you're doing, is it helping the community? So success stories of, have they been able to find people jobs? Have they been able to place them in housing and those type of things? So they will be providing that information to us on a quarterly basis, and that is in the operating manual also. So I did want to bring your attention to, I think it's the first page of the promissory note. The one thing that we did, we did hear some conversation back and forth that the terms of the agreement were 10 years. Councilmember Frankel wanted to have 15, 17, but we did kind of come to an agreement to about 12. So that's what's in the 12 years is in the promissory note as well as in the agreement as well. There is in section 3 on the promissory note on the first page, there is a typo. It does say 12 years in the first couple of sentences, and for the rate of the forgivable loan at 8.33%. But down in the last sentence, it does say 10 years, so we will clean that up. It was cut and paste error, one of those things of trying to go through all the documents and make sure that we have all the information correct. So we will make sure that that's cleaned up when we go forward. So I can have any questions answered if you questions.
So, Turlock Gospel Mission said they got feedback from the neighbors. Have we received any feedback from those neighbors?
No.
None.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Just for clarification, I think it was a proactive effort by TGM to try to avoid any complaints voiced to the city. And certainly, just as they have for the last year and a half or 2 years, they can operate, if we choose, the day center out of the Gospel Mission on that Saturday and Sunday, which is further away from the residents on the neighboring street.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, let's open it to the public. Come on up, Mr. Carrico.
Good evening, Mayor Rublak, council members. My name's Chris Curiaco, and unfortunately, our board president is unable to be here tonight, but we do have two other board members, Melanie Moen and Lori Mast in the back. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity that the city manager has given staff and myself to sit down and try to get this resolved. We appreciate the acceptance of the 12 years, but that offer was made in conjunction with separating the loans out. In other words, what they've done is combine the loans. The first one being $330,000, that was a 10-year loan. And then the additional loan, $491, that was a 12-year loan, or would have been a 12-year loan. But in the process of combining them, any repayment on the original $330,000 is lost, because now it becomes a $330 plus a $491 for $821 for 12 years, even though 3.5 years of the other one's already been paid. And that's about $100,000 in value to us. So that becomes a bit of an issue. Earlier payoff, when it's combined, 1/10 or 1/12 is forgiven each year. But there is an opportunity to prepay. And we like to keep some flexibility. When we agreed to 12 years, that says we're going to operate a day center out of that building for the next 12 years, even though it may be better to operate a day center, say, over at a new construction over on First and D. We have that vacant lot there for future use. So there is provision for paying it off, but when they're lumped together, the annual amount is such that it makes it a lot more difficult. the start, so that's kind of the main reason why the start time is very important. The 12, again, I would ask you to consider separating out the 3 loans, because all the paperwork on the 330,000 is already there and signed. It's the additional 491 that is now combined, which makes some down the road problems for us. Also, there's a problem with the agreement with A&V, which is in that package. Section 12B has the mission indemnifying the city against any penalties arising from the contractor's violation of any regulation or law. So that's a problem. These are not earth-shaking problems. I mean, they can be resolved, but I think we need a little bit more discussion with the city staff. Otherwise, if they weren't there, we'd be ready.
Questions for Mr. Kirak? Oh, no. Anyone else wishing to speak on this subject? Milt?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I just misunderstood what I heard, but I thought I heard that the restroom facilities are only going to be open 5 days a week, but there's some other place they can use or find restroom facilities. I mean, it's kind of, you can't just stop having restroom needs for 2 days out of a week. So was I wrong, I hope? Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Come on up, John. And then we'll let you come back up, Chris. Okay.
Thank you.
Just
We
sit in
have a
front row.
campus there. There's a number of buildings. 437, which is the main shelter, is open 7. It's open every night for the guests who are there, and there's restroom facilities there. As soon as the day center is open, if there's a city declared emergency, then it kicks into the emergency shelter mode, and then the interior restrooms are available both in the daytime normal hours and at night during the emergency hours.
John?
Now, as you all remember, 4 weeks ago, I gave you a suggestion on the homeless and everything else like that. And for those who don't know anything, it was about Fishes and Loaves in Austin, Texas. The thing I liked about the most was that it was almost overwhelmingly volunteers and the community who got in to help these people and give them some hope. Okay, I don't expect the government to provide housing and everything else for everybody, but together, hopefully, we can get people, to do, just like with the gospel mission. They have volunteers, churches and things that go in and help serve meals and everything else like that. So you hope that the community, is generous. We have lots of generous people in this community, absolutely beautiful things that can help them. But you have to have something, for the broken and whatever, that they can do it. And that's why I gave you that suggestion, that somehow it just shows you what a nonprofit and a community can do to help people, and all the people that are in that community, that live in that community, they all pay rent. Okay, every single one of them does something to earn money to pay rent for that they have. So that's why I gave it to you. Thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back for discussion. Vice Mayor?
I think everyone can understand that, I'm not happy with this 12 year. I wanted 17. I don't think that 2 years is a good compromise. And I also do have a problem with the facility not being open on Saturdays and Sundays. We are paying over $800,000 for this, and them not being open
2 of the 7 days just doesn't sit well with me. So I don't know how I'm gonna be able to support it without some additional compromises.
Okay. Other comments?
Well, questions, I'm not sure I understand the joining of the loan and how that changes things. Missed.
I wish I had a better accounting background. But the contracts were reviewed by our outside counsel that is familiar with housing and the funding that we have through CDBG. And so her recommendation was to combine them. Mhm.
Other comments, questions, statements, concerns?
I would ask the city manager, I mean, do you think is there a benefit to sitting down with them and talking some more, or do you want an answer tonight?
Thank you for the question. Let me answer the question first. No, I think we've met a point where it's very clear that the board agreed to a 2-year bump. There is from 10 years to 12 years, there is the ability for the gospel mission for the TGM to run the day center out of the mission and not physically open the day center on on Saturdays and Sundays, thereby giving a little bit of a leeway to the neighboring residents behind them. But there's still, in my perspective, the ability to provide 7-day services, just as they've been doing for the last 2 years that the facility has been uninhabitable. But, you know, just to be clear, I know there's a groundswell of criticism that the city is in the business and so on and so forth. This dates all the way back to 2006, 2007, when the then city council, made a decision not to operate homeless facilities and instead reach out to nonprofits and support the nonprofits through grants with housing funds, CDBG funds, those types of things. So the city has absolutely no responsibility for the operation of any of the homeless facilities or temporary shelters. We did, however, enter into an agreement with TGM in 2022, 2023, as we were dealing with the massive encampments in the community. And we were restricted by the federal appellate court relative to enforcing ordinances. And as a result, myself and the city attorney spent an inordinate amount of time adding up heads and beds and make sure that we have a bed for every head. And that's where it came in with the gospel mission. And we were utilizing the fairgrounds at an exceptionally high cost for overflow. And so they purchased the day center through a HUD loan facilitated by the city in 2016. So staff approached council for authorization to allocate additional HUD funding to improve the day center that they already own to a level that would allow for an overflow. So fire sprinklers. The building was not allowed to be used for sleeping, so on and so forth. So we had to do a tremendous amount of work, and that's your $900,000. And that also served as our emergency shelter for COVID. And today it would serve as our emergency shelter if we had flooding or any natural disaster or a chemical spill or whatever we needed. So that's a long way of pointing out to you that this is not a city operation. And no, I think we've reached our max. I am well aware that we have council members that wanted 15, 17 years. I don't see us getting to 15 and 17. I'll let Mr. Kiriakou share more information about that if he chooses. But they did avail to me some of their financial stability concerns, and I understand it, and I understand why, so.
We're gonna open it back up. Chris, did you want to say something, sir?
Quick comment. It takes about $130,000 a year to operate the day center. That's just the day center on top of the rest of the operations that we have there. And so, even though it sounds like only 2 years, it's actually committing to 130,000 times the 260 on top of the previous 10. So there's a major commitment by the mission to continue to do the day center and to do it for the period of time that we're talking about. Now, why just 12 years? Well, we have a lot, we have the vacant lot that's at First and D, and we don't stand still, as you probably know. Over time, we've continued to gradually grow, and there may be a point in time where we want to move the day center over to a new facility over on First and D. And if we want to do that, we're hamstrung by the fact that we have to either pay off the remainder of the loan or wait another X number of years. So, you know, it's the business considerations that any business would make in terms of where they provide the service. Not that the mission is a business, because it's not. Its goal is the restoration of individuals, make them productive members of society. And that's only our goal. And so we think that the day center will help us, that 432 will help us significantly, but that doesn't preclude development of the lot over on First and D. Thank you.
Yes.
So just to piggyback on that, you know, I'm looking at council. Part of my responsibility as city manager is to offer opportunities and options. So although I just said 5 minutes ago, I think we've reached, so I've had conversations with Councilmember Franco, who suggested to me an idea that when she suggested it, my first thought was, why didn't we think of this? And so if it's a fiscal issue that they're facing, I know that some of the council members' concern is, so when they reach the committed repayment and they now officially own the property, is that when the day center is going to stop? And so, you know, I know that at least for one council member, the concern is that 12 years is not enough. So the option that was discussed was, so can the agreement outline a process whereby, although the forgivable loan has been met at year 12, but there's an additional 5 years of operational requirement, and so for each year of operation, they get a credit of the 8.83, I think it is, which at the end of year 12, that loan would be forgiven. But yet, under the contractual agreement with the city, they would have to continue, and with HUD, they would have to continue operating for an additional 5 years beyond that. Now, as Mr. Kiriako just outlined for you, and I did have a chance to see that calculation and understand how they get there, he's right on the money. It's 5 more years at $130,000 a year in today's dollars. And so it's another, nearly, it's a little over $500,000 on top of what they'll spend. But might I suggest that you let us take it back one more time and have this discussion with Mr. Kiriako, unless he's tired of talking with me and wants to end it right here and say, no, we're not interested.
Are you still open to the dialogue, sir?
I am.
Okay, I will close the public comment. I would say not to a designated date, in that I don't know how the discussion will go. So you bring it back when you guys think you've got something to bring back?
Next council.
Whenever.
It's not a problem trying to.
Do you need a motion to table?
Shall we?
Motion to table.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Abram?
Yes.
Councilmember Bixel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, 5-0. Thank you for coming. All right, city manager, any last items on the updates?
No, none.
All right, council member comments and announcements.
I'll just make a comment that the fire department's open house was very nice, and so thank you for everyone involved for putting that on. I think it was a great community event.
Ditto on the fire.
Look at her
Sporting the
sporting
shirt.
it.
I
It's hard to
told
get
them
that.
I would. Thank you for the Turlock Police Department's Widows and Orphans fundraising dinner, ball, dance. It was very nice, very beautiful as usual. Last thing is on October 12th at Venture Fitness on Center Street. There is a women's self-defense class.
You teaching?
I am assisting. My trainer is teaching. Fee is $30. Women's only. Help teach how to protect yourself in an ever-changing environment out there.
Good.
Oh, yeah, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Widows and Orphans. Wow, what an event. My hat is off to those guys and the board that puts that on. They're not all sworn police officers. There's a lot of just regular city employees that work there. But something I never realized is that 100% of that goes to the families of our fallen officers. And that's unheard of, because even nonprofits take a portion to pay somebody or something, but not these guys. They get everything donated. The time that your board puts into that event to put it on, that's all donated, so that 100% of the money goes to the families. My hat is off to them for that. Thank you.
My apologies, both fire and police. I didn't go to either. I had an unexpected turn of events, but I did go to the Grand Oaks 5-year anniversary on Friday. That was amazing. And I did go to the 150th anniversary of the Masonic Lodge, which was super cool, on Sunday. So how about items for future consideration? And we have closed session, ma'am.
We have A, Conference with Labor Negotiations, California Government Code 54957.6A, Agency Designated Representative Deputy City Manager Sarah Eddy, Employee Organization, Turlock Employees, Turlock and City Employees Association, Turlock Firefighter Association 2434, Turlock Management Association, Public Safety, Turlock Management Employees. B, Conference with Legal Counsel, Anticipated Litigation, California Government Code 5495669D2. Case is 3.
She should be say that really fast 3 times in a row.
Okay, anyhow, we will report out should there be anything. Otherwise, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. We are back from closed session and there is nothing to report out. We are adjourned.